course. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Hava, thank you very much for this day, for this week that you are allowing us to begin together, seeking to listen to your voice. Give us open ears and willing hearts to follow you as you lead us. Thank you for the peace and the strength that you give to our brother Steve and to everyone who is going through difficult times, through our sister Luisa. Thank you for you show your love and your power with the people of Venezuela. And thank you for we get to have the amazing experience of your faithfulness and your love. And only you have words of life. We won't go anywhere else. Thank you for keeping us under your wings, despite the circumstances. We love you, and thank you for the people that you choose to edify us with your word. We want to honor you and glorify you. Thank you for your light that is shining upon us. We love you. For the name of Yeshua, we praise you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Luz. Welcome, everyone, to today's Parashah number 56. Today is going to be deep, personal, intimate, and it's going to be quite tough because this section of the Parashah, it is very important for us to understand natural human reaction and to understand what to do about human reaction, because it's expected for us to have some kind of reaction. So we'll see the reaction of the Hebrews here before crossing the Red Sea, before and after. So it will get us to some feeling of how are we expected also to react. But let me ask you a few questions, opener questions, and we don't have to answer them right now. It is just for us to start reflecting, and in our private section, we might share deeper into these questions, okay? So question number 1. What would be your current worst case scenario of your life? What's your worst case scenario? And how do you think you would react in case this worst case scenario happens? That's just one question. What would be my worst case scenario? What would happen in my life that could be the worst case scenario? And how do I think I would react in case that happens? Question number 2. What do you consider to be your main spiritual weakness? And question number 3. Do you self-condemn yourself? I don't know if that's properly said. Do you condemn yourself because of something? Self-condemnation. It's the issue here. Okay. So start thinking about those questions. Let's see what the Lord wants to teach us today. And let's open our Bibles in Shemot or Exodus chapter 13. Last week, not last week, 2 weeks ago, we read part of these verses uh, because we just went through. But we will start on uh, chapter 13, verse 21. There we go. Ready with your Bibles there? Okay, let's start reading. I'm reading from the CJB. Adonai went ahead of them in a column of cloud during daytime to lead them on their way, and at night in a column of fire to give them light. Thus they could travel both by day and by night. Remember, they are going out of Egypt. Neither the column of cloud by day nor the column of fire at night went away from in front of the people. So the Lord was leading the way and providing what was necessary for them to just keep walking. Chapter 14. Adonai said to Moshe, "Tell the people of Israel to turn around and set up camp in front of Pi-Hahirot, between Migdol and the sea, in front of Baal Zephon, camp opposite it, by the sea. Then Pharaoh will say that the people of Israel are wandering aimlessly in the countryside. The desert has closed in on them. I will make Pharaoh so hard-hearted that he will pursue them. Thus, I will win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and all his army. And the Egyptians will realize at last that I am Adonai." The people did as ordered. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his servants had a change of heart toward the people. They said, "What had we done, letting Israel stop being our slaves?" So he prepared his chariots and took his people with him. He took 600 first-quality chariots, as well as all the other chariots in Egypt, along with their commanders. Adonai made Pharaoh hard-hearted, and he pursued the people of Israel as they left boldly. The Egyptians went after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, with his cavalry and army, and overtook them as they were encamped by the sea, by Pi-Hahirot, in front of Baal Zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up and saw the Egyptians right there, coming after them. Here's the human reactions. To start noticing the human reactions. In great fear, the people of Israel cried out to Adonai and said to Moshe, "Was it because there weren't enough graves in Egypt that you brought us out to die in the desert? Why have you done this to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we tell you in Egypt to let us alone? We'll just go on being slaves for the Egyptians? It would be better for us to be the Egyptians' slaves than to die in the desert." And remember, we are noticing human behavior, human reactions. Because right now it's happening their worst case scenario, right? They were just out of Egypt, starting to go into the desert, and then the Egyptians are just following after them. So they are just noticing they don't have any escape. They don't have anywhere to go. So they are just, the worst case scenario is happening for them. Let's see Moshe's reaction. Verse 13. Moshe answered the people, "Stop being so fearful. Remain steady, and you will see how Adonai is going to save you. He will do it today. Today you have seen the Egyptians, but you will never see them again." Oh, I love human reaction. Verse 14. Adonai will do the battle for you. Just calm yourselves down. And let's see what the Lord is actually expecting. Verse 15. Adonai asked Moshe, why are you crying to me? Oh man, I love how our Lord uh, speaks to men through questions to really reflect. That's why I try to open up with these parashas with questions, so we can question ourselves. Why are you crying to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. It's just contrary what Moshe just said. Calm down, be steady, just watch Adonai. And the Lord is saying, no, start moving, go forward. Verse 16, lift your staff, reach out with your hand over the sea, and divide it in two. The people of Israel will advance into the sea on dry ground. As for me, I will make the Egyptians hard-hearted, and they will march in after them. Thus, I will win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and all his army, chariots and cavalry. Then the Egyptians will realize that I am Adonai, when I have won myself glory at the expense of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his cavalry. Next, the angel of God, that would be the messenger of God, who was going ahead of the camp of Israel, moved away and went behind them. And the column of cloud moved away from in front of them and stood behind them. It stationed itself between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel. There was cloud and darkness there here, but light by night there, so that the one did not come near the other all night long. Moshe reached his hand out over the sea, and Adonai caused the sea to go back before a strong east wind all night. He made the sea become dry land, and its water was divided in two. Then the people of Israel went into the sea on the dry ground, with the water walled up for them on the right hand and on their left. The Egyptians continued their pursuit, going after them into the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and cavalry. Just before dawn, Adonai looked out on the Egyptian army through the column of fire and cloud and threw them into a panic. He caused the wheels of their chariots to break off so that they could move only with difficulty. The Egyptians said, Adonai is fighting for Israel against the Egyptians. Let's get away from them. Adonai said to Moshe, reach your hand out over the sea, and the water will return and cover the Egyptians with their chariots and cavalry. Moshe reached his hand out over the sea, and by dawn, the sea had returned to its former depth. The Egyptians tried to flee, but Adonai swept them into the sea. The water came back and covered all the chariots and cavalry of Pharaoh's army who had followed them into the sea. Not even one of them was left. But the people of Israel walked on dry ground in the sea, with the water walled up for them on the right and on their left. On that day, Adonai saved Israel from the Egyptians. Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the shore. When Israel saw the mighty deed that Adonai had performed against the Egyptians, the people feared Adonai, and they believed in Adonai and in his servant Moshe. Let's continue with chapter 15, which is the Moshe song. Chapter 15. Then Moshe and the people of Israel sang this song to Adonai. I will sing to Adonai, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he threw in the sea. Yah is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, I will glorify him. My Father God, I will exalt him. Adonai is a warrior. Adonai is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he hurled into the sea. His elite commanders were drowned into the sea of Suf. The deep waters covered them. They sank to the depths like a stone. Your right hand, Adonai, is sublimely powerful. Your right hand, Adonai, shatters the foe. By your great majesty, you bring down your enemies. You send out your wrath to consume them like stubble. With a blast from your nostrils, the waters piled up. The waters stood up like a wall. The depths of the sea became firm ground. The enemy said, I will pursue and overtake, divide the spoil, and gorge myself on them. I will draw my sword, my hand will destroy them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, sublime in holiness, awesome in praises, working wonders? You reached out with your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your love, you led the people you redeemed. In your strength, you guided them to your holy abode. The peoples have heard and they tremble. Anguish takes hold of those living in Peleshet. Then the chiefs of Edom are dismayed. Trepidation seizes the heads of Moab. All those living in Canaan are melted away. Terror and dread fall on them. By the might of your arm, they are still as a stone, until your people pass over, Adonai, till the people you purchased have pass over. You will bring them in and plant them on the mountain which is your heritage, the place, Adonai, that you made your abode, the sanctuary, Adonai, which your hands established. And verse 18 is the last one. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Well, this is the end of today's Torah reading. So, what are your thoughts? What verses came out to your mind? What is the Lord speaking to you today through these verses? Anyone willing to share before we jump into the Haftarah? Or any questions, commentaries, contributions to these verses? Yes, Steve?
Just looking for it. Just one second here. I think it was the end of. Oh, I have to go to the ESV because it was easier. I had it marked here. It's interesting that yeah, at the end of the last verse of 14, um, it connects in with our questions and that too. It's and I think we've talked about it in past things is that we always are expecting a result before we put our trust, or we want to see a miracle, or we want to see an action, or we want to see something before we rely on God in many things. You know, even we simple even simple things. You just go, why is this happening to me? And we want God to I don't know how to fix it, instead of asking the question which I'm trying to change is, well, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to reveal about yourself and about me? So I find that last verse in 14. Actually, I'll read from the CJB now. I don't know where it is, because it says, yeah, when Israel saw the mighty deeds, so they saw the action Adonai had performed. The people feared Adonai and they believed in Adonai. And not only that, they believed in Moshe, because when you go back to that thing, and God says, why are you crying to me? And he's speaking to Moses, and Moses wasn't really crying. It was the people, but Moses gets lumped into the dysfunctional people that he's trying to lead out. And then he has to, he kind of gets grouped into that. So, but here, you see all of a sudden they go, because the people were crying to Moses, and then here it's like, no, we believe in Adonai and we trust you now, Moses. At least they trusted him for a couple more days, maybe, because we know as they go through the desert, they do the same thing over and over and over again. But I just find the human nature part of this story very, or this section of the Bible, very interesting because, yeah, we blame our leader, we blame Adonai for not doing things, and then we also blame the leaders for not doing, telling us the right things or leading us the right way. So, yeah, that's just my comments about it. It's just an interesting part.
Thank you, Steve, for sharing. My personal reflection on these verses was that when we feel trapped, like Israel was feeling trapped before the sea, uh, it's interesting to observe our human reactions, our own reactions. How do we react when we feel trapped, when worse things are happening that we actually expected worse things to happen? I don't know about your minds, but at least my brain, it's very funny because sometimes it's like very dramatic or very tragic. It kind of expects the worst case scenario sometimes. I in my mind sometimes it happens, accidents, and I don't know, bad people coming around it, but it's just happening in my mind. It's like my mind preparing for the worst case scenario to determine the reaction beforehand. So the reaction of these guys were just amazing. Is why did you brought us out of Egypt? We were fine there. We were okay. We prefer that life. And I don't know if you that this has happened to you, but at least for myself, it has happened. That I kind of tell the same thing. I was fine before this deal. I was fine before this event. I was fine before. Why is this happening to me? Now I have to change. And it's interesting. I think the key word here is responsibility. It's okay. This is happening. What is the Lord asking from me? It's not because sometimes we go, well, at least myself, go to the passive mode. Well, the Lord will do. Adonai will solve it. In the time of Adonai will happen. And sometimes the Lord is asking for me, start walking, start taking decisions, fix the thing. It's not just passively expecting for him to do everything. There's an action corresponding. That's why the answer of the Lord is interesting. Why are you crying to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. And you lift your staff. It's interesting because sometimes we expect the Lord to do everything and to fix everything. And to it's not that we do not rely on Him, but there's a human action expected. So that's why the questions from the beginning. Anyway, those are my main comments, and I simply love this verse on 15:13. Where is it? In your love, you led the people you redeemed. Oh man, I love this verse. In your strength, you guided them to your holy abode. I love this verse.
Can I
Uh,
add something to that, Moe,
yeah,
too?
yes,
Just
yes.
to, and what we were saying at the end is that, yeah, we expect or we do. Would you not agree? And maybe everybody in the group, would you not believe that that's kind of the background to coming to where we are maybe now in our walk in faith? That that in the evangelical Christian church, and we were just talking about it yesterday, Louise and I, is that we have these, we're you know the kind of my friend Reg used to say there was a lot of people sitting in the Christian Reformed Church, very old congregation, and he said they all have their bus ticket, they're just waiting for the bus to come. um, and I used to laugh at that because they just expected Adonai to do everything. I've already got my ticket on the bus. He's going to handle everything. Everything's going to be okay, right? And I think that's kind of the uh, that's for me it was anyways, especially was that was a little bit of a reset. God's going to control it. God's, even if it turns out bad, God will still, in control of it all, right? And you just kind of submit to God. But I think what I've learned since studying with you, Moeen, studying the Bible differently than the way I have in the past is um And we see from these verses exactly what you said there. God said, take steps forward, start doing something. Just don't stand there and wait for me to do something. You need to start moving, right? And we see that in other we see that all through the even through the prophets. We're studying the prophets, and you see that through all the prophets. They're telling them to get up and do something, to change, to start being different, right? And I think that's what God calls to. But I think there's an automatic reset, possibly back to the way we were originally studied, what we believed, and how we thought, and who we thought Adonai was. But that's just my thoughts with what you said too. So
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, but the opposite might be also true. Sometimes we go into this passive mode, or just waiting into him for do everything. But we can go to the activist mode, that we do actively doing stuff and moving, and without waiting for his call of what to do. So either way is not the best. Uh, I think that the what makes the difference is the intimate relationship that we have with him. So we expect every single day and moment in our lives for him to tell us what to do or not to do. Sometimes he might do just wait on me, stop and wait. Then I stop and wait. Sometimes he will do move, ask, decide, take your actions. And I believe that's a personal thing, that sometimes he's just quiet and just waiting for us uh, to to do something. I don't know if this has happened to you, but it has happened to me in this journey. That sometimes I ask the Lord, please tell me what to do or not to do, or he's just silent, quiet. I believe it's because he expects from me to do something, or maybe something that he has already told me, and I'm just being stubborn and not doing it. Like, I told you already what to do, and you're not doing it, or I told you already to wait, and you're not waiting. It depends. What makes the difference, I believe, is the personal relationship with our Lord, that we have this intimate connection with him. Otherwise, we are simply lost. Anyway, Luz, you have raised your hand. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. It is amazing these people went through the 10 plagues, and it wasn't easy. I mean, it was one after the other, and they were set apart to some of them, but they saw the tragedy and they saw the power and they saw the fear of the Egyptians in their eyes, to the point that they were giving them the gold and everything, just go, 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 go. Your God is powerful. And the first thing that happens on chapter 14 is the people fear Pharaoh greatly. And they were in despair. Now, why are we leaving? And start complaining. And that's basic nature. I mean, you get used to the trauma, you get used to the bad circumstances, you see the power of God, you see how mighty He is. And it's still, when it's the time to make the decision, to make the choice, now it is the time. Because you can wait, just forgetting so easily all the mighty and all the power that He displayed. And I love on 15, 18, Yahweh will reign to a distant time and beyond. And that's what we need to remember. He reigns, regardless what was the Pharaoh, what was the circumstance, what was the place. The column of fire is there, the cloud is there, and if He is asking us to move, we will move. And if not, we will wait. Because regardless time and space are together. For us, it's just our little mind that can understand God, but He is above the time and the space, and He reigns. So it's being able to open the eyes and see His glory, His kavod, to the extent that He is asking us to do things, but at the end, if he's asking us to move, we would follow him. It's it's just amazing how over and over and over the people of Israel are longing to go back to Egypt and forgetting how mighty he is. And we are still there.
Thank you, Luz. And I loved what you expressed, like we get used to trauma. Yes, we do get used to trauma. So maybe the group challenge for the week, if I may, would be to this week observe our reactions, observe our personal reactions, and ask the Lord what He expects from us. But we first have to observe ourselves in our reactions, because most of those reactions come from old traumas, from old decisions in the past. We are just reactive, and we don't even know that we are reactive. So this is interesting. Anyway, thank you, Luz, for your commentary. Luz, you have raised your hand, yes?
So it is repeated a few times that Adonai wanted the people of Egypt to know that he is God, that he is Elohim, right? So I'm wondering, why was it so important for him to know that the people of Egypt knew that? Because, well, who needed to understand, acknowledge, were the people of Israel. But it calls my attention that Adonai wanted the people of Egypt, the foreigners, to recognize him as Elohim as well. And in chapter 14, verse 14, when Moses is telling them, you will see Adonai is fighting for you again, right? You will see his power. You will see his salvation again. But he tells them, not in these words, but because it says, like, you shall keep your peace or something like that, like regulate yourselves, right? Because he has already taken you out of the land of Egypt, and remember his promise, where are you going to? So he's not going to leave you. I mean, it is not obvious for anybody, I think, even for Moses, that he has been using his rod to perform all these great wonders. It is not obvious that he's going to open the sea, right? He's going to raise his I forgot the word. His vara again.
His staff?
His staff, thank you. And the sea is going to part into ways that is not obvious for anybody. Like, you would not expect that. So it is strange for me also that Adonai tells him to just move forward, but they have to wait until the winds, part the sea in two. So something is not like clear for me right in that moment. But just, well, all that. Thank you.
Thank you, Luz. Maybe for the Egyptian part, because they rely so much on their own gods, and even though that they saw the 10 plagues, remember that at least Pharaoh was very stubborn on them, not letting them out. They like, this is not the real God. This is not the God. We have different gods more powerful. So going back to the old ways, to the old traumas, maybe they just simply can go back to Egypt, regroup themselves, strengthen more, and attack Israel again. So maybe this space was so they could stop pursuing Israel through the next 40 years. So that's maybe the reason why God wanted to let them know he was Adonai. I believe that. And in the other part, yeah, I'm just picturing in my mind, they were just next to the sea, waiting to see what was happening, feeling trapped. And I believe some of them, as a human natural reaction, maybe some of them, if they weren't seeing anything happening and they weren't waiting for the Lord's command, they would just jump into the sea and die themselves there in the ocean. they will start jumping out of there and start swimming or maybe fleeing into the mountains. I don't know. That's why they had to wait to see what was going to happen. And yes, they had to wait, but at least this wind was happening and they were moving forward. Their responsibility was to move forward. Anyway, those are my thoughts on your commentaries. Thank you, Luz. Catalina, you have raised your hand. Yes.
Good morning to everybody. The way I see it is like you were saying, it's all about relationship, and they didn't have a relationship. They didn't have a relationship with their God. They didn't know their God at that point, and they were used to Pharaoh. His ruling was by fear, and what is fear? You are afraid because you don't know what is next. You don't know one day that person is fine, and the other day is like, okay, go and kill that guy because I don't like how he look at me. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't know their God. And yes, the 10 plagues were like extraordinary events, but it's still building a relationship takes time that you trust. And they still in their mind, they were ruled by fear. And that doesn't happen in one day or in 2 days. That is with our myself. I still getting to know my God. And unconsciously, many times you go back to that fear. Wow, this is too good to be true. When is the next time that something is going just to to fall and and that is because we have been rooted in fear, and that will happen to us until the day that we die. And so it's easy to judge these people, but the reality is they just get to know this God. They didn't know, it's like, okay, these things happen, this is cool, but when is the next time that he's going to be angry and destroy us or change his mind? And I think we are all guilty of that as well. So for me, it's relationship, and it takes time. And I'm thinking about Daniel. Daniel was um, serving, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like 5 different rulers, 5 different kings, and one of them decided that, hey, I just going to throw you to the lions. But it took relationships for him to get to that maturity to trust in their God in the midst of that trial. So what I'm saying, it takes time. Relationship takes time, and God is a merciful God, and He knew that their minds has been ruled by fear. And we see it over and over in the Bible how God tells them, don't fear not, fear not. And because it's something that we all have.
Yes, thank you, Catalina. And yes, it's not about judging these guys, but actually observing them and learning from them. Because yeah, it's our expected human reaction. Yeah, we are learning from them, from their own mistakes, let's call them, or their own experiences. So yeah, we're just following the same path. And I remember in one time in evangelical church, there was like this motto that pursue miracle after miracle after miracle and go after the miracle and just look for the next miracle. It was like this kind of sense. And it's kind of this, they already saw and lived and experienced the 10 plagues. And they now about to see another miracle, and they will happen with another miracle. And still they all die in the desert because of the lack of faithfulness. So it's most not looking for the miracle, but looking for his command or his what he expects from me to do or not do. Anyway, Luz, you raise your hand again? Yes.
I wanted to follow up on your train of thoughts from a different angle because on 14:14, Moses says, uh, basically, Yah will fight the war for you, but you must keep silent. Don't start complaining. Don't start putting things on your mouth that are not true. Don't start creating problems that are no longer there. You just keep silent. And it's the same order that Joshua is giving to the people when they cross the Jordan and they start walking around Jericho. And you are gonna keep silent. You are just gonna be walking and walking and walking, and the last day, boom, you are gonna blow the shofar. You just keep silent. You just listen to me. You just put your trust in me, and you move on and walk in faith, knowing that the cloud is there, that the column is there. Don't complain. Keep aligning your heart, your mind, your words, because otherwise we are gonna bring a lot of problems to ourselves. I mean, just control, filter, stop. I love that, and that's something I have been learning in the hard way. Just listen and keep my mouth shut.
Thank you, Luz. Yeah, that's why the challenge for the group this week is to observe our reactions. How do we react? Because it is important to observe ourselves so we can change in order to keep silent and listen to his voice. Anyway, let's go to the Haftarah. Let's jump to Jeremiah or Jeremiah, chapter 49. Jeremiah, chapter 49. And Steve, can you help us out read? That would be from verse 1 of chapter 49 all the way to verse 22, please. If you can just open up your microphone.
Yeah. All right. Concerning the people of Ammon, here is what Adonai says. Has Israel no sons? Has he no heir? Then why has Malcolm inherited God with his people settled in his cities? Therefore, says Adonai, the days are coming when I will sound the battle alarm against Rabbah and the people of Ammon. It will become a tell of ruins, her villages burned to the ground. Then Israel will inherit from them who disinherited him, says Adonai. Wail, Heshbon, for Ai is doomed. Cry out, daughters of Rabbah. Wear sackcloth and mourn, running here and there among the sheep pens. For Malcolm will go into exile together with his priests and officers. Why do you take such pride in the valleys, your well-watered valleys, rebellious daughter? You trusted in your riches and thought, who can attack me? I am bringing terror on you, says Adonai El Tezavot. From every side, each of you will be driven out headlong, with no one to gather the fugitives. But afterwards I will bring back the exiles of Ammon, says Adonai. Concerning Edom, this is what Adonai Tezavot says. Is there no wisdom left in Teman? Have her wise men forgotten how to counsel? Has their wisdom vanished? Flee, turn back, hide yourselves well, you who live in Dedan, for I am bringing calamity to Isla when the time for me to punish him comes. If grape pickers came to you, they would leave no grapes for gleaning. If thieves came out at night, they would destroy until they were satisfied. So I, for my part, have stripped Esau bare. I have exposed the hiding places. He will not be able to hide himself. He is doomed, sons, brothers, and neighbors, so that he is no more. Leave your orphans. I will keep them alive. Let your widows trust in me. For this is what Adonai says. Those who do not deserve to drink from this cup will have to drink it anyway. So you should go. You should go unpunished. No, you will not go unpunished. You will certainly drink it. For I have sworn by myself, says Adonai, that Batra will become a ruin and an object of astonishment, reproach, and cursing. All of the cities will be in ruins forever. I have heard a message from Adonai. A messenger is sent among the nations, saying, gather together and march against her. Prepare for battle. Here I will make you least among the nations, the most despised of people. Your capacity to terrorize has deceived you and made you arrogant. You make your home in the rocky crags and seize the top of the mountain. But even if you build your nest high as the eagles, from there I will drag you down, says Adonai. Edom will become an object of horror. Everyone passing by will whistle in the astonishment of it at all its disasters. It will be like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighboring towns, says Adonai. No one will settle there anymore. No human being will live there again. It will be like a lion coming up from the thickets of the Jordan against the strong settlement. In an instant, I will chase him away and appoint over it whoever I choose. For who is like me, who can call me to account? What shepherd can stand up to me? So hear the plan of Adonai that he has devised against Edom, and his purpose that he will accomplish against those who live in Timon. The least of the flock will drag them away. Their own pasture will be in shock at them. The earth quakes at the sound of their fall. Their cry can be heard at the sea of surf. Wow. Oh, 22. Sorry, Moy. Like a
Yeah.
vulture, he will soar, swoop down, and spread out his wings against Botra. On that day, the hearts of Edom's warriors will be like the heart of a woman in labor.
Thank you, Steve, for the reading. So what we are looking forward here is to see these human weaknesses or spiritual weaknesses. And actually we determine it's not because they are just their neighbors of Israel, but mostly because of their arrogance, pride. And we can see in verse number 4, why do you take such pride in the valleys? You will water valleys, rebellious daughter. You trusted in your riches. So all these are like the weaknesses or the spiritual weaknesses. Because even, I don't know, I assume that you live by some neighbors, but sometimes we don't get along with our neighbors. And sometimes we, how to say, we want what the neighbors has. There's a thing they say, the grass is greener on the neighbor's yard, or how is that? Yeah, something like that. And yeah, even though that Israel was following Adonai, they trusted themselves more than neighbors. So pride. And in verse 7, is there no wisdom left in Teman? Her wise men forgotten how to counsel. And in verse number 10, so I, for my part, have stripped Isabar. I have exposed his hiding places. Hiding places. He will not be able to hide himself. And verse 14, he says, gather together and march against her, prepare for battle. Here I will make you least among the nations, the most despised of people. Verse 16, your capacity to terrorize has deceived you and made you arrogant. So these are the weaknesses. So the purpose here is for us to see if we have some kind of these defects or character defects in order, because no, because in the ending of verse 19, what shepherd can stand up to me? So yeah, if we understand who he is, there's no reason or no point on having any of these defects, arrogance, hiding places, or capacity to terrorize. So I don't know. Those are my commentaries on this section of the Haftarah. Any thoughts of you? Any commentaries? Any extra things to consider? Yes, Steve? Just open up your mic.
Sorry. Yeah. I have a question, Moy, and again, just the thoughts maybe on the group from the group too about verse 12, when it says, "Those who do not deserve to drink from this cup will have to drink anyway." So you should go unpunished. No, you will not go unpunished. You certainly have to drink of it. It again, is this again for me, I'm just reading that too, is it's I just think a little bit of foreshadowing of Yeshua drinking from the cup and God, I don't know, it's God saying, you all have to drink from the cup. Is there, or do you have a thought on what that is in reference to in this case, is why they're using that?
Well, I'm honestly, I don't didn't make any research or connection. It does look like it might refer to the Messiah as having or being punished for something that he didn't do. But mostly, I believe this is most about these verses, about what is happening. So even though that, how do you say? There are even some verses in the Torah that even though that you weren't aware of what was happening, you are also considered to be so ignorance is not a bliss. Ignorance of something and you perform something, even if you weren't uh, guilty of something, you acquire the same punishment because you were ignorant of it. So that
It,
mostly is about being aware of what we are doing, becoming aware, because we can be punished if we, not because punishment is expected, but to be aware that we might be doing something that might be wrong, and assuming that we are not to be blamed. I don't know if it's making sense or I'm just stumbling around.
well, and again, I look at this verse again as along the context of some of the things that you highlighted. Like that later on you can't hide any place, and like you were just reading from the other thing, they had the wisdom and knowledge, but where, had they forgotten the counsel, has their wisdom vanished? Back to verse number 9 that you read there, right? So when it comes to that verse, that's what that's kind of what I was thinking, is that because it says those who do not deserve to drink from this cup will have to drink it anyway, and that's so in Jeremiah too, there's an inevitable there's an inevitable punishment coming that he's talking about, right? Or judgment from Adonai coming from this, right? And so those that, like you're saying, that's what those that believe, maybe, they, like I was saying with the Christian thing. So, God's in control of it. I've got my bus ticket. No, well, I think, before you get on the bus, you're going to have a little sit down on the bench before you get on the bus and have a talk with God before he's going to let you on the bus, right? So I think that's the kind of thing, is that we're all going to be, we're all going to be reviewed at some point. There's no place to hide of anything that we've done, or even what we think
If
sometimes, right?
if we keep reading in verse 13, it actually says the reason why. For I have sworn myself, says Adonai, that Botzra will become a ruin and an object of astonishment, reproach and cursing. All its cities will be ruins forever. So even though he already made a judgment, but if people were living there, knowing the judgment, why were they there?
Why did they stay? Yeah.
They stayed. So that's why, even though that you did nothing, you knew the judgment. So why did you remain there?
Well, and in a broader context too, we know the judgment of not following the Torah, listening to Adonai, or some of the things that we're talking about, sitting in silence or waiting to hear. So we know the consequences not by doing that. So it's a larger overview. But yeah, okay, thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Steve, for your question and commentary. Lucy, you have raised your hand. Yes.
Two things. The first, just to follow up on Steve's comment, I think it comes from verse 11, because it says, leave your orphans, I will keep them alive, let your widows trust in me. For this is what Adonai says, those who don't deserve to drink from this cup will have to drink it anyway, so you should go unpunished. So the orphans and the widows, they didn't do anything, but what the Lord is asking, the widows will trust in me. And even though the punishment has been declared, no one is gonna go unpunished, but still the widows, they have to trust in him. And my next question is why? Because we as women, we are the ones bringing life. We are the ones bringing the next generation, and we are teaching our children to trust in Him, even in the desolation. The next generation, they are gonna learn. If we trust and we believe, we are gonna teach our children. So I think that the comment about the non-guilty being punished is coming through the whole community, but the children and the women, they are gonna go through the pain, but they are gonna trust in God. And I think that's the key. Regardless, for some reason, we as women, we have the gift of listening to Him and being sensitive to the Spirit and being able to listen and trust in Him. And my comment was going to be on verse 16, where it says, your capacity to terrorize has deceived you and made you arrogant. And that's what happens in human nature. That happened in Egypt with Pharaoh. He was able to terrorize anyone and everyone. And nowadays, if we go to the Middle East, Iran, they have the capacity to terrorize anyone and being arrogant and deceiving people and playing games. But they are forgetting that there is a God, that He is bringing justice. So is from the human, just when someone is so arrogant and feel that they have the power and they can control and they can absorb everything from people, but they are forgetting there is a decree from the Almighty and justice will come.
Thank you, Luz. Thank you for sharing. Luz, you have raised your hand. Yes.
Yes. Here in my version, which is the Amplified Bible, in verse 12 it says, "For thus says Adonai, behold, they Israel, whose rule was not to drink the cup of wrath, shall assuredly drink, and are you to remain unpunished? You shall not go unpunished." So what I'm thinking is that Israel, well, they were redeemed, they were delivered, but even though they were redeemed and delivered, the generation that came out didn't, I mean, they died. All of them died. So they received Adonai's judgment because they didn't believe in Him, even though they were the ones that were saved. So this is my understanding, of course, right? So they were to be redeemed, but they received judgment. So is anyone else going to go without judgment? No, that will not happen. And recently I read the chapter when Akan, he keeps the things that he should not keep from Jericho when they went towards Jericho. And then all the people of Israel that went to battle with Ai, they suffered, right? The judgment of Adonai because Akan committed this fault. So I was thinking about I don't know, like the corporate responsibility that we as a people have. Even though it was not the sin, I mean, not the whole people of Israel committed a sin, but it was Akan. But all the people of Israel received a judgment because of his sin. So that's what I'm thinking about.
Thank you, Luz. Yeah, it does look like that. Yeah, we need to understand that this is, even though that the relationship with the Lord is individual, we need to understand that the impact of our actions or inactions will have an impact on the rest of the people of Israel. and the ones that he have been delivered by him. So yeah, this corporate mentality that we are part of the same body, yeah, it does affect my actions or non-actions will affect everyone else. So as yours, your actions and inactions. Anyway, it remains the same thing to observe ourselves, and not only in the physical reaction, but mostly in our thoughts, in our hearts. Because I don't know, maybe you say, well, I'm very peaceful, but yeah, after all this drama and and trauma and tragedy happened in my mind, maybe I didn't react, but observe your thoughts. Observe what is happening in your mind. Maybe you do not react. Maybe you are calm and peaceful and quiet, but in your mind is happening. Observe your thoughts, observe your reactions. Let's observe ourselves this week. Let's go to the Brit Hadashah. That would be in the letter to the Romans, chapter 8. Letter to Romans, chapter 8. And Luz, can you help us read chapter 8, verses 1 to 14, please?
Yes, sir. This is the word of God. Therefore, there is no longer any condemnation awaiting those who are in union with the Messiah Yeshua. Why? Because the Torah of the Spirit, which produces this life in union with Messiah Yeshua, has set me free from the Torah of sin and death. For what the Torah couldn't do by itself, because it lacked the power to make the whole nature cooperate, God did it by sending His own Son as a human being with a nature like our own sinful one, but without sin. God did this in order to deal with sin, and in so doing, He executed the punishment against His sin in human nature, so that the just requirement of the Torah might be fulfilled in us, who don't run our lives according to what our old nature wants, but according to what the Spirit wants. For those who identify with their old nature set their minds on the things of the old nature, but those who identify with the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit. Having one's mind controlled by the old nature is death, but having one's mind controlled by the Spirit is life and shalom. Hallelujah. I love it. For the mind controlled by the old nature is hostile to God, because it does not submit itself to God's Torah. Indeed, it cannot. Those who identify with their old nature cannot please God. But you do not identify with your own nature, but with the Spirit, provided by the Spirit of God is living inside you. For anyone who doesn't have the Spirit of the Messiah doesn't belong to Him. However, if the Messiah is in you, then, on the one hand, the body is dead because of sin, but on the other hand, the Spirit is giving life, because God considers you righteous. And if the Spirit of the one who raised Yeshua from death is living in you, then the one who raised the Messiah Yeshua from death will also give life to your mortal body through His Spirit living in you. So then, brothers and sisters, I will say, we don't owe a thing to our old nature that will require us to live according to our old nature. For if you live according to your old nature, you will certainly die. But if the Spirit you keep putting to death the practices of the body, you will live. All who are led by God's Spirit are God's sons. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Luz, for the reading. So let's start with verse number 1, because sometimes when we do observe that we are failing in our thoughts, or emotions, or feelings, or reactions, sometimes we condemn ourselves. I don't know how are you dealing with self-condemnation? But this has been an issue with myself for so many years, that when I finally understood something about myself, sometimes I felt self-condemned. And this is bad because this doesn't lead anywhere. And actually, that's why verse number 1 is so important, at least for myself. Therefore, there is no longer any condemnation awaiting those who are in union with the Messiah Yeshua. So it's important for us to understand that self-condemnation or any other kind of condemnation, as long as we are in union with the Messiah Yeshua, there's none. There's none. And these verses are dealing with what happens in our minds, what is leading our mind. And sometimes we do go back to our old nature because of the past traumas. We are used to trauma so much that the reactions are just there. They're just impulses or reactions that are physical, human nature and mind. They just are there. But if we start observing ourselves and letting His Ruach lead us in our minds, then a new life is expected, a new kind of reactions. So let me just read from verse 12. So then, brothers and sisters, we don't owe a thing to our old nature that would require us to live according to our old nature. But we first have to see the old nature. We have to acknowledge the old nature. We need to understand the mechanisms and reactions from this old nature. We need to study our old nature to see what was our old nature. For if you live according to your old nature, you will certainly die. But if by the Spirit, this verse is very important, you keep, it's a continuous action, you keep putting to death the practices of the body. Again, for if you live according to your old nature, you will certainly die. But if by the Spirit you keep putting to death the practices of the body, you will live. But we need to acknowledge them. We need to study them. We need to see what that old nature was in order for getting rid of it and being led by His Spirit. All who are led by God's Spirit are God's sons. Oh, those are amazing verses. Anyway, any commentaries, contributions, or questions into these verses? Easy peasy. Anyway, if there's none, let's jump into our practical part to see our commitments, actions, and decisions for this week. Maybe one of the actions might be stop doing what we are doing. Stop the railroads of your life. Or maybe start walking on them. Start just taking decisions. I don't know. What's the Lord telling you today? Anyway, let's pause the recording for a moment and let's jump into that and to see your actions, decisions, and commitments of what the Lord is expecting from you this week. Where does it pause? Anywhere? There we go. So thank you everyone for sharing your actions and decisions and commitments for the week. So that'll be all for today's Parashah number 56. So let's end up today's session by praying. Steve, can you help us pray, please?
Adonai, King of the universe, how great is your faithfulness? How great is your love, Lord? Help us to be renewed and faithful each and every day of our lives, Lord, as we wake up and take our first breath. Help us to love you in a deeper and committed way, Lord. Help us to be aware of our own dysfunctional and imperfect behaviors towards those we love, towards ourselves. Help us to remove the rocks and the blocking and the obstacles that prevent us from becoming closer to you, Lord. And help us to be
more at one with you in everything, Lord. You created us to be in relation with you, and we ask that, Lord. We ask to be in a deeper relationship with you. We ask for your will to be done in our lives during this week, Lord. We ask for shalom in our lives in difficult situations. And we ask, Lord, that you push heavy on us and push for that change, Lord, that we feel you and we desire to make that change, Lord. Thank you that you are our God and there is none before you, there is none after you. Help us to live right in the moment, each and every day, Lord, knowing that you are helping us and carrying us. In Yeshua's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you everyone for being here today. So God willing, see you next Sunday. Have a very blessed and functional week. So Shavua talk for all of you. Take care.
Ciao, everybody.